I came to tell somebody tonight I can't quit yet. Not after surviving what should have destroyed me. Not after crying in the dark and still getting up in the morning. Not after hell tried to bury me and accidentally planted me. If quitting was an option, I would have quit then. But I'm still standing, so that means God is not finished. Look at your neighbor and tell them, I can't quit yet. No, say it like you mean it. I can't quit yet. Because the pain you're in is not permission to stop. The delay you're facing is not denial. And the pressure you feel is not proof of failure. It's proof of process. I know you're tired. I know you've questioned yourself. I know you've prayed prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling and came back down. But if you still have breath in your body, fire in your spirit, and a pulse of purpose in your heart, you can't quit yet. You didn't survive by accident. You are not still here because life forgot to finish you off. You are still standing because survival itself is evidence that your life carries an assignment. There were moments when what you faced should have broken you completely. Moments when the weight was too heavy, the loss too deep, the betrayal too sharp, the pressure too constant. Other people went through less and didn't make it out, but you did. Not because you were lucky, not because you were spared pain, but because there was something on your life that could not be aborted. The enemy doesn't waste energy on people with no future. Storms don't rise without purpose. If hell invested that much effort trying to stop you, it's because heaven had already invested something powerful inside of you. You were attacked because you were dangerous. You were targeted because you were marked. What tried to kill you didn't know it was actually proving your value. Every hit you took and survived was evidence that your assignment is bigger than your struggle. There were nights you didn't think you would make it. You smiled in public and bled in private. You showed up when you wanted to disappear. You kept moving when your strength was gone. That wasn't just endurance. That was destiny pulling you forward. Something kept you alive when giving up would have made sense. Something whispered, not yet, when you were ready to let go. That something was purpose refusing to release you. You are not here just to exist, to pay bills, to repeat cycles, to survive and die. You are here because there is something you are supposed to finish, someone you are supposed to help, something you are supposed to break, and something you are supposed to build. Survival is proof that your work is not done. If your assignment were over, you wouldn't still be breathing. If your purpose were completed, the fight would have ended already. The fact that you're still in the fight means the mission is still active. The scars you carry are not signs of failure. They are credentials. They prove you've been through fire and didn't lose your identity. They prove you faced pressure and didn't forfeit your calling. What you survived wasn't meant to shame you. It was meant to shape you. One day, the very thing that tried to break you will become the testimony that strengthens someone else. The pain wasn't pointless. The survival wasn't random. So when your mind tells you you're tired, when your emotions tell you you're done, remember this: people without purpose quit easily. People without assignment fold under pressure. But you are still here, still breathing, still standing. That alone is evidence you didn't survive because you're stubborn. You survived because you're assigned. And until that assignment is complete, you can't quit yet. Pressure is not your enemy. It is your environment. It feels uncomfortable because it was never meant to be easy, but it is necessary because nothing valuable is formed without it. You don't discover who you really are in moments of comfort, applause, or convenience. You are revealed when life tightens its grip, when options disappear, when the weight forces you to choose between collapsing and becoming. What you call pressure is actually purpose being activated. If pressure was sent to destroy you, it would have worked by now. The fact that you're still standing means it's doing something else. It's rearranging you. It's stripping away what can't go with you into the next level. Pressure exposes habits that no longer serve you, mindsets that limit you, and dependencies that keep you small. It squeezes until what's real comes out. And what's real in you is stronger than what's pressing on you. You don't like pressure because it removes control. It forces you to trust when you'd rather manage. It demands growth when you'd prefer comfort. But purpose doesn't grow in safe spaces. Calling doesn't mature in convenience. The weight you're under is shaping your character to carry what you've been praying for. You asked for more influence, more impact, more authority, but those things require capacity. Pressure increases capacity. It stretches you so you don't break when elevation comes. Think about how many times pressure pushed you to levels you never would have reached on your own. You learned how to think differently because you had no choice. You learned how to pray deeper because easy prayers stopped working. You learned discipline because survival demanded it. Pressure trained you. It sharpened you. It forced you to evolve. Without it, you would still be comfortable, but you would also be stagnant. Pressure also reveals priorities. When everything is easy, distractions feel harmless. But when the weight is heavy, you quickly learn what matters and what doesn't. You stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment. You stop performing for people and start listening for purpose. Pressure clears the noise so you can hear direction. What feels like chaos is often clarity being formed. And let this settle in your spirit. Pressure is temporary, but what it produces is permanent. The season that's squeezing you won't last forever, but the strength, wisdom, resilience, and authority it builds will stay with you. When this season passes, you won't just come out relieved, you'll come out refined. You'll carry yourself differently. You'll speak with weight. You'll move with confidence that can't be shaken because you'll know what you've survived and what you've become. So don't curse the pressure. Don't run from it. Don't quit because of it. Let it do its work. Let it shape you. Let it form you. What's pressing you is not trying to crush you. It's trying to create you. And when the pressure lifts, you'll realize it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. What you're facing right now may feel like a closed door, but delay is not the same thing as denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. We live in a world that wants everything instantly, but purpose doesn't move at the speed of impatience. Purpose moves at the speed of preparation. When something is delayed, it's often because you're being positioned, not rejected. There are things you asked for that would have broken you if they came too early. There are opportunities you prayed for that required a version of you that didn't exist yet. So the waiting wasn't punishment, it was protection. While you were frustrated by the timing, you were being strengthened in the process. While you thought nothing was happening, everything was happening beneath the surface. Roots were growing where no one could see them. Delay stretches your faith. It forces you to believe without evidence and trust without timelines. Anybody can celebrate when the promise shows up quickly, but it takes maturity to keep moving when there's no visible progress. Delay teaches you consistency. It teaches you obedience. It teaches you how to keep showing up when the excitement fades. That kind of faith doesn't collapse when circumstances change because it wasn't built on convenience in the first place. Sometimes what feels like delay is actually alignment. Things have to line up. People have to move into position. Conditions have to shift. You're not late, you're being timed. You're not forgotten, you're being set. If it came before everything aligned, you'd have to fight battles you weren't meant to fight. The delay is saving you from unnecessary damage. And let's be honest, delay exposes motives. It reveals whether you want the promise or the process. It shows whether you're committed to purpose or just attached to outcomes. When things don't happen quickly, excuses surface, impatience rises, doubt starts talking. But those moments refine you. They force you to decide whether you'll quit or keep trusting. Delay separates shallow desire from deep calling. What you need to understand is that nothing delayed by purpose is ever wasted. Every season you thought was unproductive was actually building something essential. You learned endurance, you learned humility, you learned how to wait without falling apart. Those lessons are part of the blessing. When the door finally opens, you won't walk through it naive, entitled, or unprepared. You'll walk through it grounded, grateful, and ready. So don't rush what's taking time. Don't abort what's still forming, Don't walk away just because it's slow. The promise didn't expire because the clock moved. What's meant for you is still yours, even if it's not on your schedule. Delay is not a signal to quit. It's an invitation to trust deeper. And if you're still waiting, it's because the story isn't finished yet. The moment you're in right now is not the moment that defines you. It may feel heavy, embarrassing, confusing, or painful, but it is not the final word over your life. A weak moment does not cancel a strong calling. A bad decision does not erase a God-given purpose. You are not the sum total of your worst day, your lowest season, or your biggest mistake. What you're walking through is a chapter, not the conclusion. Every life with purpose has pages it would rather forget. There are moments when fear spoke louder than faith, when exhaustion led the way, when emotions overruled wisdom. But one moment of weakness does not outweigh years of endurance. You didn't lose everything because you stumbled. You didn't forfeit your future because you fell. Falling is part of being human. Staying down is the only real defeat. What makes a moment dangerous is not the failure itself, but the lie that follows it. The lie that says you're finished, disqualified, exposed beyond repair. That voice will try to convince you that because you slipped, you're no longer worthy to stand. But purpose doesn't evaporate because of imperfection. Calling is not that fragile. If it were, none of us would still be here. Some of the strongest people you admire had moments they thought ruined everything. They questioned themselves. They doubted their value. They replayed the mistake in their minds and wondered if that was it. But what they didn't realize in the moment was that their story wasn't over yet. The pain was loud, but it wasn't permanent. The shame felt final, but it wasn't fatal. Weak moments have a way of humbling you, slowing you down, and forcing reflection. They reveal where you need growth, healing, and clarity. If you let them, they can become turning points instead of dead ends. The same moment that embarrassed you can educate you. The same failure that wounded you can strengthen you. It all depends on whether you quit or keep going. You don't need to erase your past to move forward. You need to rise with it. What you went through can sharpen your compassion, deepen your wisdom, and refine your character. One day, you'll look back and realize that the moment you thought disqualified you actually matured you. It stripped away pride and replaced it with dependence. It didn't destroy your future, it redirected your focus. So don't let a temporary collapse convince you of permanent defeat. Don't let one season speak louder than your entire journey. You are still growing, you are still learning, you are still becoming. And as long as you're still breathing, your story is still being written. This chapter may be painful, but it is not the ending. Quitting always looks like relief in the moment, but it charges interest you don't see until later. When you're tired, overwhelmed, and worn down, walking away feels like peace. It feels like rest. It feels like freedom. But quitting doesn't remove the weight, it only transfers it. What you don't carry today, you end up carrying tomorrow in the form of regret, unfinished business, and unanswered questions about who you could have become. Enduring costs energy, patience, and tears, but quitting costs identity. When you walk away from something you were meant to finish, a part of you knows it. You may move on outwardly, but inwardly something stays unsettled. You replay the moment. You wonder what would have happened if you had held on just a little longer. That what if becomes heavier than the struggle ever was. Quitting interrupts growth. The very thing that feels unbearable right now is building strength you will need later. When you quit, you don't just leave the pain behind, you leave the progress behind too. You freeze your development at the point of discomfort. The next time pressure comes, and it will, you face it with the same capacity, the same fears, the same limits, because you never stayed long enough to grow past them. Endurance, on the other hand, produces something lasting. When you stay, even when it hurts, you develop resilience that cannot be taught. You learn that emotions are real, but not always reliable. You discover that you can survive days you once thought would destroy you. That knowledge changes how you walk into the future. You don't fear challenges the same way because you've already proven to yourself that you can outlast them. Quitting also sends a message to your spirit. It trains you to escape when things get hard. Over time, that pattern becomes a reflex. Every obstacle feels like a signal to stop instead of an invitation to push through. Endurance trains the opposite response. It teaches you to lean in, to stand firm, to stay grounded when everything in you wants to run. That habit of staying becomes one of your greatest strengths. And here's the truth most people don't talk about. If you quit now, you don't escape the process, you just restart it later. Life will present the lesson again, just in a different form. The faces may change, the environment may shift, but the challenge will return until it finishes its work in you. Quitting only delays growth. It never deletes it. Staying is not about stubbornness. It's about stewardship. It's about honoring the investment already made in you, the time, the pain, the prayers, the growth. You've come too far to stop now. The cost of enduring may feel high, but the cost of quitting is higher. And when you finally reach the other side, you'll realize that staying didn't just get you through the struggle. It transformed you in the process. As long as there is breath in your body, there is still work to be done. Breath is not random. It is permission to continue. Every inhale is a reminder that purpose has not expired. If your story were finished, you wouldn't still be waking up. If your assignment were complete, you wouldn't still feel that inner pull, that quiet nudge telling you there's more. The fact that you are still breathing means heaven hasn't closed the file on your life. Breath is the most basic sign of life, yet it carries the deepest message. It says you are still being sustained, still being held, still being given time. You may feel worn down, discouraged, or uncertain, but breath means opportunity. It means grace is still active. It means you are still allowed to grow, to change, to rebuild, and to rise again. You are not living on leftovers. You are living on purpose. There are people who stopped breathing yesterday who would give anything for the chance you still have today. That doesn't mean your pain isn't real. It means your pain isn't final. You are alive in the middle of the struggle, and that alone shifts the story. Breath means the door is still open. It means the pen is still moving. It means the chapter can still turn. God doesn't keep people alive without intention. You weren't preserved just to exist in survival mode, dragging through days with no expectation. You were preserved because there is something in you that still needs to be expressed. There is wisdom in you that only comes from what you've lived through. There is strength in you that others need to see. Your continued breath is evidence that someone somewhere is connected to your obedience. Even on days when you feel empty, breath is proof that you are not done. You may not have clarity, energy, or direction, but you have time, and time, when guided by purpose, is powerful. Some of the greatest transformations don't begin with confidence. They begin with a decision to stay alive in the process. Breath gives you the chance to make that decision again and again. There will be moments when you wonder why you're still here, especially when the pain lingers longer than expected. But breath answers that question quietly. It says, because the work isn't finished. Not the work around you, but the work within you. You are still being shaped, refined, and prepared for what's ahead. You don't have to see the full picture to keep breathing. You just have to trust that life itself is a sign to keep going. So when quitting feels tempting, come back to this truth. You're still breathing, and as long as there's breath, there's purpose being built. As long as there's breath, there's potential unfolding. As long as there's breath, the story is still alive. And if the story is still alive, you can't quit yet. So before you walk out of this place, I need you to settle something in your spirit. Don't let what you're facing talk you out of what you were born for. Don't let temporary pain make permanent decisions. You didn't come this far to stop here. You didn't survive the storm to drown in the aftermath. If the door hasn't opened yet, it's because you're still being prepared to walk through it. If the weight is still heavy, it's because you're stronger than you think. And if the fight is still going on, it's because the victory hasn't finished speaking yet. Look at yourself and say it not quietly, not politely, but with conviction. I can't quit yet, not with breath in my body, not with purpose in my spirit, not with destiny calling my name. You may be tired, but you're not finished. You may be wounded, but you're not defeated. You may be delayed, but you are not denied. So stand up in your faith. Stand up in your resolve. Stand up in who you are becoming. Because when hell thought it had you, heaven was still working on you. And until the assignment is complete, until the story is finished, until the purpose is fulfilled, you can't quit yet.